Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Cambridge University Press on artificial intelligence. And we're going to get quite a lot of these books turning up. This one is Artificial Intelligence and Legal Analytics, New Tools for Law Practice in the Digital Age. As I said, this is just the start, I think, of what's going to happen. The book's been written by Kevin D. Ashley, and it's available as a hardback, a paperback and an ebook. Elizabeth and I have given the title for our book review the following: "Oh no, another AI book hits the shelves," this time from Cambridge University Press. But don't be alarmed, because artificial intelligence is here. It's misunderstood by many people. My nephew is just in fact studying at the moment at university in one of the newer courses on AI, and I'm fascinated to see how it's all going to develop in the next decade. So before we talk about what's in the book, let's look at it. It's a hardback that I've got here. I've borrowed a bit of the information from the back of the book there, because this could be going into the journals. You can see the information is set. I can hardly read it. It talks about the field of artificial intelligence, which I'm going to refer to in a minute. Then it talks about Dr. Ashley, Professor of Law and Intelligent Systems at the University of Pittsburgh. And he's a scientist, of course, because again, that's where we are today with this particular subject matter. Now let's have a look at the book. It runs to 426 pages. There we go. The index at the back is by page numbering, so not too difficult to follow. It's not a very big index, very much the house style of Cambridge University Press. Then, of course, you've got a lot of bibliography, which is there, because he's obviously done his homework. After the bibliography, you then got the glossary, which I think again is very helpful, because again, for someone of my generation, a lot of this work doesn't, the words these do not have the same meaning, or I don't actually know what they're talking about sometimes. For instance, they've got ablation, turning off a model's knowledge source to determine the contribution it makes to the model's efficiency. So you're getting heavy here very quickly. Algorithm, a set of computation steps for solving a problem. You see, it's very helpful to have that, because this is the world that we're moving into. I love the words, the last chapter, cognitive computing legal apps. Now, I'm not joking. I was in court and I mentioned the word apps, applications, and I got a blank look from the court, and I wanted to get a court order with the word apps put in it. And I was told, oh no, you can't do that, because they change and they swap and they do all sorts of things, and it wasn't possible. And I thought, no, they haven't got a clue about where we're going with any of this. But that's the way it is. Now you can see the book, and there's some footnoting at the bottom. If we go to the front, and I've said before, I'm going to say this throughout the review, the fact of the matter is that we really do not know where we're going, a lot of us, with AI, and that's why I think these books are so helpful. That's the basic detail, which is on the back cover as well. Then there's a front page there. You've got some information and a nice little dedication, which I'm just going to let you see for a second. I like the dedications because they're a very important part of the book for the person writing it. The contents, the various parts. Part 1, and then you can see it runs through quite a lot of detail. Introducing AI and law and its role in future legal practice, which of course is a very fundamental question. You can see how the structure of the contents are. They're very heavy. My review isn't a long review, but this video is going to be a bit longer, because there's a lot of information here that I can show you, because I'm communicating visually rather than by writing. And you can see there are a total of 12 chapters and 3 parts. And then after that you get into the various illustrations. There's some nice illustrations, diagrams and so forth. And then running through from the illustrations you've got various tables. It is a little bit of a mixture between science and law, I thought, with this book. There's the acknowledgements, but I did find it very interesting. Right, part 1, computational models of legal reasoning. You see, the words are different, and I know it's a pain to some people, but again, we have to accept that these are the words they're going to use. And it sounds all very grandiose, but bottom line is I've got to interpret what they're saying and explain it to the client. And that's really part of my job, of course, as an advocate. Introducing AI and law and so forth, and the role of the future legal practice. Artificial intelligence and law, AI and law, a research field since the 1980s, so it's not new, has roots with previous decades, but is about to experience a revolution, and that's really why this book has come about. And you can see there's a lot of it. It's very little in the way of footnoting as such, but there is a bit. But I did find it interesting, and it's a different approach, if you like. So what do we say? Not a lot, actually, in the review, because what I'm saying is here is taken from the contents, because I think really this is a book which people should read for themselves, and I believe it's going to be the beginning of a number of books that are going to start appearing as we see job losses and changes. I'm going to say one thing before we talk about what's on the review, and that is that the views that I've had from some people are that, oh, law will never really have artificial intelligence because the whole purpose of what we do is what I do, which is to speak on behalf of someone in a court, and you can't get a robot to do that. Although some of my colleagues may appear to be robots, and so the computer on the bench may appear to be a robot rather than a judge. In reality, we are talking about human beings and the interaction between them, whereas this is different. Now, what I'm saying and what is being said here is that the new tools that we've got are an add-on, so that we won't necessarily lose a lot of jobs, the way some commentators have suggested, no names, Professor Suskind. But the fact is that we are looking at big changes in the way we do our law, the way we do the business of business and everything else. And alas, very little real preparation has taken place so far. As Ashley says right at the beginning, we are just about to have a revolution in the whole way we do things. We're at the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution, and we're unprepared for it. But these books help. Now, this is what he says. He says, and this is a quote, "The field of artificial intelligence, AI, and the law lie," as Ashley writes in his introduction, "on the cusp of a revolution that began with text analytic programs like IBM's Watson and Debater and the open source information management architectures on which they are based." Now again, you see immediately it's getting very scientific. Can I just say that I go back, unfortunately, to that era, because I'm afraid I go back to the late 60s. I'm not talking about HAL, not IBM, but HAL, H-A-L. The computer concept then, I came onto the scene in 1974 when I worked for the Ministry of Defence, and we had some of the most innovative systems then on basic supply management of equipment for the Royal Air Force. Now I can talk about that, it's not classified anymore in any sense, but they had one of the greatest new systems coming in from ICL, obviously IBM being one of the other competitors. But the point being that these systems came in, it meant you had to retrain the whole of the workforce, and I was one of the new breed, and I therefore did a whole series of different computer courses over the years, and having been a counsellor as well, I've done the same thing as a counsellor and as a teacher. I had to do again a lot of computer courses as a teacher. As a barrister at law, I've hardly had any courses whatsoever. I think the only training I really got was when I did the bar school, and they had to tell me how to use and make a video, which I'd already done, although I'm doing them now as you're watching this one. But you can see that the whole system has changed. So what we do is we welcome this particular book because it's a far-sighted new work on AI and legal analytics which has appeared, and it does so just at the right time for the new debate with the fourth Industrial Revolution. Ashley continues with his sort of mission statement by stating that the new legal applications are beginning to appear, and they certainly are. Excuse me. So these new tools are, this is the quote from him, "designed to explain computational processes to non-programmers." That's me, and that's most clients. It describes how they will change the practice of law, specifically by connecting computational models of legal reasoning directly with legal text. that, I think, is where the difficulty comes for quite a lot of practitioners. In addition, generating arguments for and against particular outcomes, predicting outcomes and explaining these predictions with reasons that legal professionals will be able to evaluate for themselves. So then the human element comes into it. But you can see the basic starting point that Ashley has come up with. And I think, frankly, that's exactly the way that we have to look at it, because we are looking at explaining the predictions and the being able to evaluate the information that's coming to us. So I'm going to say what I said right at the beginning, and that is this becomes for us an addition. It's not going to replace what we've got, but it's going to be an addition, an additional assistance. There is only one real problem, and that is that it's going to make everything much more complex. I mean, I see it with the White Book and the development of the White Book. Seen it with Archbold, which I've got over there, and Blackstone's. It's just growing and growing, and a halt will eventually have to come. Be interesting to see what happens with the online procedure rules, which is the White Book Online for the online courts, because again, that will start off being very small, and then it will just expand as we get the cases. Let me conclude by saying, because I obviously like this book, as you gather, these legal applications will support conceptual legal information retrieval, and it will allow cognitive computing, enabling a collaboration, this is his words, between humans and computers, in which each does what it can do best. And that really is the key to the future of AI. It's working for us, if I can put it that way. So anyone interested in artificial intelligence is and how it is changing one's practice in the face of what we're doing in business should read what I think is an illuminating work. Now, the publication date is the 31st of October 2017, and as I've said, this is a particularly interesting book. I'm recording this in November 2017. It's a hardback, this one. You can see it again, and you can see the back. But I'd have found it a very, very interesting book. Just opening it up in the middle. You see, you've got, again, you'll always have these illustrations. They love it. When I did the computer courses, they love all this stuff. It's all rather mathematical, but I'm not a mathematician, although it does help, I suppose. You can see the structure. You've got some paragraph numbering, and you've got some, again, very, very little, but a little bit of footnoting from time to time, just to assist. But most of it is body copy. But again, you have quite a lot of predictions. This is computational models of legal argument. And these are predictions. In other words, a predictive method. Again, the wording doesn't help. It doesn't help the cause of the AI exponents, and it doesn't help anybody else. But the book itself, I thought, was well worth reading, and I'm sure it will assist anybody with research in this field. So a big thank you very much to Cambridge University Press and to Kevin, Dr. Kevin Ashley, for producing this work. Bye-bye.